After a discussion with some friends of mine online who were asking a lot of questions about the carnivore diet and sort of how I'm eating, I decided I would make a quick video for this channel on what I eat in a day, typically on a carnivore diet. It changes. I don't always eat the same thing, but one of the first things I do to break my fast is that this is my third cup of coffee. I usually make a cup here at home. Then I go to Panera and I do some work. I do some writing. I catch up on social media, drink another cup of coffee. Then I fill that back up again and bring it home. And I put some heavy cream in it because that is a fat mechanism. So on the carnivore diet, you're wanting to eat protein and fat. And you're wanting about 70% of your calories to come from fat and about 30% to come from carnivore, or to come from meat of some kind, typically. And so this is where I start. Now, in the microwave, I have my air fryer pan heating up to 400 degrees. I've got it in there for 5 minutes. And the reason I do that is a little different in the microwave than it is in a regular air fryer. So the reason I do that is that gets the pan really hot, and it will sort of sizzle the steak when I put it in. So there are a couple of things that I'm having for breakfast today. One is a New York strip. I buy the New York strips, usually 2 or 3 to a pack, at Walmart. I buy them when they're on sale. So they come down to about $7 or $8 a pound when they're on sale. This one I have coated in kosher salt, coarse grind kosher salt on both sides, and I've put it in the refrigerator. It's been there for 2 days. So you'll see that it doesn't look appetizing like you would see a steak in the window, but this has been tenderized for me by doing a dry brine with that salt. What the salt does is it pulls the moisture up out of the steak. Now, a lot of people mistakenly think that steaks are full of blood. Steaks are not full of blood. There is another liquid in here that comes out when you're cooking, and it turns red because that's the color of the meat. But if you eat something that's rare or medium rare and you get a little juice flowing out of it, that is not blood, okay? So what this does is it pulls the moisture up out of the steak. I keep it up on a rack so that the air gets under it as well. And the moisture comes up and dissolves the salt, and then it goes back into the steak. It gives it a little bit of seasoning. Kosher salt's not as strong of a salt flavor as regular granulated salt. This is how I turn this over. So my microwave air fryer is set up where whatever time you put in it, at a certain point, it stops and asks you to turn things over. So I've got about another minute and a half there. I am going to put just a little bit of extra salt on here, but I wouldn't salt this like I would normally with a regular steak. And the other thing that I'm going to do as well, because I want to try to get as much fat into my diet as possible, I'll talk about that again in a minute, is I'm just going to put a little bit of butter on the steak while it's cooking in the air fryer. Now, what I will probably do when this is done is throw it in a pan for just a few seconds on pretty high heat to sear it, like a sear that I wouldn't get in the air fryer. So that's ready to go in about 30 seconds, and I'll be right back. All right, so that's heated up to about 400 degrees, and the one thing that you don't want to do is reach in and grab that with your hand. So I'm just going to put this steak in here, and it'll sizzle a little bit. I'm going to throw in a couple of pieces of bacon that I will brown up in the frying pan when this is done. but it will sort of get it pre-cooked a little bit. I'm going to put this back in there. The bacon really needs about 10 minutes if you want to cook it thoroughly, and I'm not doing that. So on a ribeye steak, now this steak's been sitting out for about a half hour. It's kind of room temperature. But on a ribeye steak, I would probably cook it 8 to 8.5 minutes. With the New York strip, because it is much less fat, it's a much more lean meat, I'm going to cook it for 6.5 minutes. So I'm going to set this back to 400 degrees, and then I'm going to set the time to 6 minutes and 30 seconds, and that will start. While that's going, I'm going to heat up my pan over here. Now remember, this is all breakfast, and what time is it? It's 7 o'clock. That's after the time change. So, I've been up a while. I've been to Panera already. I've been to Walmart to get some stuff for my mom for her groceries. I've been out and about a little bit. But this is about the time in the day that I break my fast and I eat something, is around 7 to 7:30. So for this meal, I'm going to throw in 3 eggs. Now, these are Pete and Jerry's. My Apple Watch band is magnetic, and it always grabs hold of my microphone. These are Pete and Jerry's organic eggs from Fresh Market. I don't always buy these. They're more expensive than I would like to pay. But with the Ibotta app, I got $1 off. So I put this back over here. And I'm just going to warm this pan up. Get a little bit of butter in it. I'm going to let that heat up for a minute. And again, we'll be back just shortly. Okay, I've got my butter kind of sizzling over here. I'm cooking at about 6 on a scale of 10. And I'm just going to drop these eggs in here. They won't take long. Now, when I'm out eating at a restaurant, I like my eggs medium to medium well. I like the yolk to be a little runny. However, when I'm cooking at home, put a little salt on here. When I'm cooking at home, I don't like to clean up much. All right, this is ready to turn, so let me grab this out of here. Now, I'm not moving cameras around to give you all different kinds of angles and stuff, but you can see it started to cook. The bacon is, it's sort of, what I'm going to wind up with the bacon is a little bit of pre-cook, not necessarily cooked. So I'm going to pop that back in there. And it's got another 2 minutes out of that 6.5. So I was saying about eggs, because I don't like to clean up much, I'm going to pop these yolks. And I'm going to let them cook sort of solid. That way I don't get a lot of egg yolk all over my plate. And again, it's just because I'm lazy. We'll just flip these over. They're going to need a little while. That one didn't flip too well, so let's see if I can straighten it out. Okay. Let that sit there a bit. And again, we'll be back when the steaks are done. All right, so you can see my eggs are done. I've got them sitting here. The steak is just about finished. I'm going to pull that out here in just a few seconds. I've got my pan heating up a little hotter over here. And again, that's really, really hot inside, so you don't want to touch it. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw this bacon. You can see that it's still pretty limp. It's trying to get cooked. I'm going to throw this over here into this pan. Maybe just try to crisp it up just a little bit, not worry about it too much. And then I'm going to put the steak in here just to give it a little bit of sear. Yeah. Now, the bacon will cook up really, really fast because, it's almost done anyway. And it just saves me a lot of time and effort and splatter. Sort of get that a little closer to what I would ordinarily eat. I'm going to flip that steak over, turn the heat off. Not going to let it sit on there too long. This is breakfast. So I've got a little bit of a New York strip. There's a little bit of fat in it, but not much. Cooked it in butter, so there's some more fat. Got the bacon, definitely fat. Cooked the eggs in butter, definitely fat. And I think I'm ready to enjoy breakfast. I will be back later when it's time for lunch. But you can see, let me just throw this up here. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it's still sort of pink in the middle by cooking it 6.5 minutes. But it's not going to be runny because the dry brine has taken all that out. I'll be back when it's time for lunch. All right. We had breakfast about 7 o'clock this morning, and it is now, I got my phone on my watch here, so it's now 2:15. It's time to have some lunch. And I've decided what I'm going to do is make a little bit of hamburger meat. So I have a pound here that I bought. This is 93% lean. I don't usually buy hamburger meat this lean. I usually like to get more like an 80-20, but this is what was on sale, and it was $4.26. I remember when I could get it for $3.50. But, the price of beef is what it is. So I've got my cast iron skillet heating up, and I'm going to cook this up, and then we'll look at how I would put that together to make that into a meal to eat. All right, so the ground beef is pretty much done. Cooking it in a skillet like this with, I've got this little thing here that my mom gave me to make sure that it's all sort of chopped up. It takes about 5 minutes. Doesn't take very long to cook this at all. I'm going to turn this heat off. Now, I eat ground beef maybe 2-3 times a week. I don't eat it a lot. But it is one of the most versatile things that you can work with for the carnivore diet. And it's pretty cheap compared to other things, and it's very filling. So if you're starting a carnivore diet and you're looking for ways to do it inexpensively, ground beef is a good way to do it. So I'm just going to, I don't measure this stuff because on the carnivore diet, you basically just eat until you're full. This was a pound of ground beef. I've probably got, I'm just going to estimate here, I've probably got 2/3 of a pound in here. And I will decide when I'm finished with that if I'm going to eat the rest of it or if I'm going to save it for later. A couple of things that I do with this to sort of flavor it up. I've got some sour cream here. And it's still within its date, but it's a little soupy now compared to when it was when I first got it. That's not a big deal for me. So we're going to put some sour cream in here. Again, it is about adding fat, the 93%. Hamburger meat really, doesn't have a lot of fat in it. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm also going to put a little sriracha sauce on it because I like it to be kind of heated up, and a little bit of hot salsa. Now, hot salsa is not carnivore. I eat a modified carnivore diet at this point. If I were trying to lose weight, if I was trying to, really lose weight quickly, I am losing weight, but it's like a half a pound a week, I wouldn't eat this. It only has a couple of grams of carbs in it, but it's not meat or meat byproduct. So technically, it's not carnivore. The other thing that I'll add to it, I've got some bacon here that I have cooked up in the oven ahead of time, and I'm just going to take a couple of slices of that, put it here in the bowl as well. And I do allow myself, even when I'm doing strict carnivore, I do allow myself pickles. I learned that from a YouTuber by the name of Laura Spath. I'm going to put some links in the description below to channels that I recommend people go to if they're thinking about the carnivore diet, to give them information from doctors and people who've been doing this for a long time. But these are the hot dill pickles. And so again, I do that because I really like the hot taste. So I'm just going to kind of take them. Now these are just straight out of the refrigerator. This is how I like to eat them. So a little bit of bacon, and then, excuse me for talking with a mouthful, and then just a little bit of this hamburger mixture of some different things that make it a little more interesting to eat. And like I said, when I get done with this, I'll sort of do an assessment. Am I still hungry? Am I satisfied? This was something, I'm being honest with you, this is something that's hard for me, starting the carnivore diet, of just eating until you're full, because I've spent my whole life eating until I'm full and then going back for more. And so learning to just stop. I'm full. And in about 20 minutes, I'm really full. So it's working. Now, this is breakfast and lunch. These are the only two meals I have. A little later in the day, I usually have a little bit of a snack. I try to finish everything by 5 or 6 o'clock. I try to keep a 12 to 14 hour window if I can. Sometimes it's more like 11 hours between what I eat at night and what I eat in the morning. So we'll be back later to kind of show you how I would go about snacking at the end of the day. And I'm going to enjoy lunch. All right, it's about 4:30 in the afternoon, and I can already tell that hamburger filled me up enough that I probably won't need to eat anything else today. So you've seen basically what I've eaten. If I had, on the other hand, another small New York strip for lunch rather than the hamburger, it wouldn't have filled me up as much because it wouldn't have had as much fat. So in that case, around 4:30, 5 o'clock, I would snack on something like this. Now, this is where I said that I am doing sort of a modified carnivore, because I've added some fermented type foods. Some people add in fruit and nuts. Some people add in honey. Some people, it's not a hard and fast rule. The very strict carnivore of basically beef and salt, or if you want to broaden it out to beef, bacon, butter, and eggs, that's generally for people who are really trying to lose weight very quickly and they're exercising. And it's also for people who have intestinal, gastrointestinal kinds of problems that are trying to clear out their gut. And it's what's called an elimination diet. So the things that I've added are things like sauerkraut. Now, what I do with my sauerkraut is once I've eaten it down a little bit, I'll kind of pour some of the juice out, and the juice from the hot pickles that I have, I'll pour that in here just to give it a little tiny bit of flavor that's, kind of spicy. I also do Greek yogurt. Now, this is plain whole milk Greek yogurt. It's 10% milk fat. I use the one from Cabot, and the reason that I do is because it stays firmer after it's been opened than other brands that I've tried. Now, this will have, it's got like 9 grams of carbs in a 3/4 cups. And generally what I do is I have 2 tablespoons. So sometimes I'll even have to eat this when I get up in the morning. If I'm hungry, but it's not time to have breakfast yet, I'll have a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of Greek yogurt. That does the trick. So I'm not eating the 9 grams of carbs, but I am getting a little bit. I also eat cottage cheese, which is not necessarily not carnivore, but it's close. And I like the Good Culture cottage cheese. And again, we're doing whole milk. We're doing full fat. One of the things I learned when I was doing sort of the South Beach kind of diet, when I was working with a trainer to lose some weight, and my weight loss had really tapered off and I wasn't going anywhere. I was really working hard and I was starving myself, I felt like, and I wasn't losing any weight. The very first question he asked me was, "Are you eating full-fat cheese?" Full-fat cottage cheese, full-fat sour cream, full-fat, whatever other, the cream cheese that were in some restaurant. I was like, "No, I'm doing low-fat." He said, "If you're doing low-fat, they just added a bunch of sugar in there that you don't need and some other stuff that's not really good for you. Always go full-fat." The other thing that I might snack on is 2 or 3 thin slices of a piece of salami with a little mustard on it. And those are the things that kind of like in the afternoon, if I just feel like at 7 or 8 o'clock, I'm going to be hungry, I'll eat a little bit of this just to make sure that I can get through the rest of the night. Today, I can tell that I'm not going to need that. So this has been a really, really, really long video, and I do apologize for that. But again, I've put some links to some YouTube channels if you're interested in learning more about the carnivore diet, or if you've been seriously thinking about it, but you want a little more information, or if you've already started it, but you're not sure if you're doing it right, these channels can help you out. This is what I typically eat in a day. And like I said, I don't mind when I'm traveling not eating this way. It's not something that's going to hurt me health-wise if I eat other things. But this has become the healthiest diet that I know of. All of my blood work says I'm great. And so, this is what I do. Thanks for watching.